Episode 4 of Welcome to Derry drags the town into its darkest chapter yet. Whispers turn into terror as signs emerge that the daughter of Pennywise may have returned, a presence so unsettling that even Derry's deepest secrets begin to tremble. But the true horror settles in with Will. As he pieces together Pennywise's feeding pattern, the truth he uncovers is far more brutal, far more precise than anyone imagined. And there, Will comes face to face with Pennywise in a moment that shatters any illusion of safety left in this town. Then comes the ending. That house, silent, rotting, waiting. Episode 4 reveals its connection to the Galloo, hinting at an origin older and more monstrous than Pennywise himself. And once the door to that truth cracks open, there's no going back. Welcome back to your nerdy show. I'm your host, Spoiler Master. Today, we're diving into the terror, the mythology, and the raw psychological horror of Episode 4, The Daughter's Shadow, Charlotte's Impossible Choice, Will's cursed discovery, Pennywise's return, and the Galloo's chilling origins.
In the shape of the things they feared the most.
Is Daughter of Pennywise back? Let's start with something subtle but absolutely terrifying. The mysterious head of housekeeping at Juniper Hill. Lily thinks she's found the only adult who might actually help, which, in Derry, already suspicious. But this woman is way too calm, way too pushy, and way too invested in a kid poking around a supernatural monster. Every reasonable adult would have said, "Sweetie, stay home, drink cocoa, avoid sewer clowns." Not her. Nope. She practically shoves Lily deeper into the danger. And that's where the Mrs. Kirsch theory kicks in. If you remember It Chapter 2, Mrs. Kirsch is the creepy old lady who welcomes Beverly into her childhood home and then slowly transforms into a monstrous giant nightmare, all while talking about her father, Bob Gray. And who's Bob Gray? One of Pennywise's classic human clown identities. Now, go back to Episode 3. We saw Francis Shaw walking into the carnival in the 1800s where a fully grown clown watched him enter, likely Bob Gray. We also saw a little girl in clown makeup staring at Francis as he walked off. So what if the head of housekeeping is that same little girl, or at least connected to her bloodline? This woman talks about her father constantly, advice he gave her, rules he set, lessons she follows. What if her father was the Bob Gray who later became Pennywise's disguise? What if she's been passing down Pennywise lore like family scraps for generations? Her behavior certainly matches someone who knows way more about this monster than she should. And Lily? She's being nudged like cattle straight into Pennywise's path. If this woman is an early era Mrs. Kirsch, then she's not just creepy, she's an accomplice, a feeder, someone who fattens the kids with fear before the clown comes to feast. And Welcome to Derry might be reimagining the Kirsch character not just as a hallucination, but as a real person who's been around a very, very long time. Why Charlotte Hanlon becomes Hank Grogan's only hope. Episode 4 also pushes the social horror front and center, and few things are scarier than being a black man in 1960s America wrongfully accused of killing children. Hank's situation is a nightmare even without Pennywise in the picture. At first, it looks like pure racism engineered his arrest, but then we learn Hank has been hiding something. He wasn't at home that night, and Chief Bowers jumps on that lie like a man who's been waiting for an excuse. Enter Charlotte Hanlon. Charlotte isn't just Leroy Hanlon's wife. She's a civil rights activist, a woman trained by experiences the rest of the town pretends don't exist. And when she sees Hank getting railroaded, something in her snaps into warrior mode. Charlotte knows exactly how the law treats black men accused of anything involving white children. It's a one-way ticket to death, no trial necessary, and she refuses to let it happen. She storms into Bauer's office like she owns the place, heels clicking like gunshots. Even before she sees Will's cemetery photos, she's already sharpening her claws. When Russo tattles to Leroy that Charlotte visited the station, it proves something important. Racism isn't just about who commits violence, it's about who stays quiet. Charlotte doesn't do quiet. She pushes and pushes until she gets permission to see Hank. But even with the letter from his mother, the police try blocking her. And this is when Charlotte flexes harder than anyone in the show so far. She threatens to call the Freedom Riders, That's basically the 1960s equivalent of telling the sheriff you're bringing CNN, human rights lawyers, and a screaming mob in 30 minutes. Suddenly, the officers step aside. Inside, Hank finally breaks. He admits he wasn't home. He was with a woman, a married white woman. In that era, that truth might as well be a death sentence. No matter what he chooses, he loses. Charlotte wants to save him, but how you free a man when telling the truth will kill him and lying will bury him? Pennywise may be the monster in this town, but humans are clearly doing half the clown's job for him.
There's something here. Derry. Something bad.
Will cracks Pennywise's feeding pattern. Let's give it up for Will Hamlin, the smartest kid in Derry right now. This boy doesn't just observe, he analyzes, connects dots, applies science. While everyone is freaking out, Will goes full forensic biologist and realizes something no kid should have to think about. Pennywise isn't killing them instantly because fear makes the meat tastier. Fear hormones, cortisol, adrenaline, all that stuff makes the prey marinate in terror. Pennywise is basically a cosmic Gordon Ramsay. Will figures it out before anyone else. And Lily takes the idea to the next level by shoplifting her mother's Valium so the kids can stay calm and avoid being eaten. Honestly, wildly irresponsible, but not the worst plan when you're being hunted by a fear eater. But then Patty ruins everything. Terrified of losing her queen bee status, Patty manipulates Marge into pulling the most cruel prank imaginable on Lily, only to publicly humiliate her. Of course, guilt eats Marge alive, and when the two of them are alone in the bathroom, Marge tries to warn Lily, but Pennywise is already circling. Marge's worst fear? Those disgusting parasitic snails with their tentacle-like worms bursting out of their eyes. So Pennywise makes her eyes bulge like that, veins pulsing, eyeballs stretching out of their sockets. It's grotesque, one of the most disturbing scenes in the show. Marge panics and saws off one of her own eyes. And when the other girls rush in, they see Lily covered in blood, hovering over Marge with the blade nearby. Now everyone believes Loony Lily attacked her. Pennywise didn't just kill a girl, he socially executed another. And this is where Will realizes something horrifying. The minister's sermon about fear feeding monsters wasn't metaphorical. It was literal. The whole town is practically marinated.
A shard from that star and carved a weapon to protect our people.
Will faces Pennywise in the water. The fishing scene is where things go from eerie to lethal. Leroy tries bonding with Will in the only way he knows, copying what his own father used to do. They're waist deep in creek water when Leroy walks away for 1 second, and that's all Pennywise needs. First, a cute fish approaches Will. Then something darker rises. The charred nightmare version of Leroy from Will's recurring trauma. Pennywise knows exactly what image to use. He drags Will under. If Leroy hadn't run back in time, Pennywise would have made Will the next missing kid. Finally, an adult in Derry sees the truth. Will's scratch marks, the fear, the balloon. Leroy becomes the first rational grown-up to accept the supernatural threat. And he does what any desperate father would do. He goes to Dick Halloran. The house in the ending, the origin of the Galloo. Halloran is floating on cloud 9 after receiving the old storage unit that will one day become the Black Spot. But his joy is short-lived when Leroy bursts in with a story about a burning doppelganger dragging Will underwater. He's terrified, but something darker pulls him in, a psychic tug from Pennywise himself. Halloran's grandmother's ghost warns him to close his mind, to stop digging, to stop opening the door between their world and the Galloo's. But he ignores her again, and General Shaw's plan rolls into motion. The dig site surveillance catches Native American kids sneaking in, including Teniel, Rose's nephew. Shaw goes full villain and sets a trap. Teniel is kidnapped, brought before Halloran, and forced to endure a psychic invasion. He hates hurting him, but he's also addicted to this supernatural quest, a hunger eerily similar to Pennywise's. And through Teniel's memories, we finally get the full story of the Galloo. Long before humans, an eldritch creature fell from the sky inside a star. The ancestors discovered its only fear was the rock it came in, so they forged a weapon from the star fragments. They contained it in the western woods. They kept it weak. They kept it hungry. Then the settlers arrived, ignored the warnings, wandered into the woods, got eaten, gave the Galloo enough strength to break its bonds. Nakani, a warrior girl, tried stopping it with her friends. Her mother, Sesqui, died fighting visions conjured by the monster. The alien baby we saw earlier is revealed to be one of the Galloo's many forms. But the kids found the fallen star, and using its shards, they buried pieces of it inside turtle shells, forming a circle that imprisoned the Galloo under the earth again. Halloran wants to find those turtle shell pillars. Shaw wants to weaponize the stones. But Teniel tricks Halloran in the most brilliant way. Instead of showing him the pillar location, he shows him something else. An old, abandoned house. A house with a deep well inside. A house connected to the sewers. A house we all know. The Neibold Street well house. Pennywise's lair. The last place any sane person would go. But this is Derry, and sanity is long gone.
An evil spirit was cast down from the darkest part of the night.
Our nerdy thoughts. Episode 4 weaves cosmic horror, social horror, and psychological trauma into one monstrous tapestry. Pennywise is growing stronger, not just because of the bodies, but because fear is flooding every corner of the town. Adults are cracking, kids are falling apart, and the walls between reality and nightmare are dissolving. If the well house is now back in focus, then the series is officially stepping into it territory, the birthplace of every nightmare in Stephen King's universe. And trust me, the worst is yet to come.
But when the
No, what the heck, I'll laugh anyway.